there, friends. This is Stephanie Bennett. I am with you again in the secret place. I do these videos every month and love to connect with you all who listen when you leave your comments and your questions. And even if it's a private message, I love it. I love connecting with you. And so I'm here today to talk to you about a book that I love. I love this book. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this book before. It's not new. It's been around for a long while. And if you're not an academic or a student, maybe you never heard of it, and I want to introduce you to it. It's called The Presence of the Word by Walter J. Ong. Now, those of you who know me know I'm an Ongian. I love Walter Ong's work. I use his books in my speech classes. I think he has brought in his lifetime so much to the table in helping us understand what we call the psychodynamics of language. And anyway, we're not going to talk about psychodynamics today so much as just a very short passage about voice and the sound and the power of conversation. He says here on page 120, 123. He says this: the fact that sound signals present, ongoing activity gives it immediate value in establishing social relations, practicing flexible ones in various situations. Sound reciprocates. Sounds which I produce tend to evoke responses from outside of me in a way that very few of my visible or tangible activities do. Sound even reciprocates between living and non-living things, as shown for porpoises and bats. The response here is from an object, a thing, although since sound makes the thing, to a degree, resonate from its interior, the object or thing is less a pure surface than it is to sight. Sound is useful for eliciting true responses from other living organisms. Now, just let's start right there. Don't we need true, really resonation from true living organisms, from other people? I mean, here we are hearing constantly about AI and all the wonders it's going to do, all the wonders it's doing with its, algorithmic majesty, and then that's from one side. The other side, we're hearing the sky is falling, robots are taking over. And which is not true. Robots are not taking over. I don't believe they ever can take over. But I do think that the presence of the robotic and artificial intelligent culture that's coming our way, that we are forming even as we speak and live and move and breathe, even as we work. I'm looking over at my computer screen, we're getting to the point in our culture where most of us aren't going to be able to work unless we're working with non-living things, unless we're working through and using the tools that involve algorithms and artificial intelligence. Well, that's why I read this today. I love this idea that sound reciprocates, and that from one's interior to one's exterior, there's a resonance that takes place that helps that one who is speaking. And you give yourself, to a degree, something of yourself, something of your livingness to the other, which brings us to the idea of conversation. When some people hear that one of the things I teach about is conversation in interpersonal communication or in speech performance and the oral tradition, some of those classes, we tackle conversation. The most natural thing in the world, right? I mean, who needs to learn about conversation? Come on. I can hear folks saying, like, that's just maybe ridiculous. But it's not. It's not ridiculous, because more and more research is pointing out how young people coming up are having trouble with conversation, trouble with knowing how to simply converse, to simply carry on even a superficial conversation, let alone those interpersonal conversations that are necessary for love to bloom, for friendship to grow, for family life to thrive. And so let's not belittle the idea of conversation. First, conversation with God, right? We always talk about the Lord in the secret place here. Um, but then there's from that conversation that overflows into our conversation with each other. And I think that those conversations are very often not happening now. Um, I haven't heard, I know it's happening, and I do pray too, but I haven't heard an emphasis at all in this last generation, probably in 30 years, an emphasis on prayer, an emphasis on conversing with God. You know, the things that we knew at first, the things that are the most important, that we kind of tacitly understand, you know, that we don't have to talk about. It's like, isn't conversation like talking about breathing? Do we have to talk about breathing? Oh, have you noticed? Have you noticed how much talk there is about breathing lately? About mindfulness and breathing. The deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds. Again. And how that calms us down, how that de-stresses our bodies, de-stresses our minds. People are starting to talk about it because we're rushing through life and not breathing well. And I think the same thing's happening socially. We kind of rush through life anymore to check things off our list and get things done. But what about the conversations in the cracks and crevices of our day? What about the intentional, longer conversations with people we care about, people we love? How about unpacking going deeper, unpacking each other's like feelings and analysis of something that just happened? This is how we make meaning in life. It's not just a cognitive process. It certainly involves cognition and it certainly involves our minds, but it's not just that. It's the words we use to speak with one another and obviously speak with God to help us make meaning for us in everyday life. So today I want to leave you with just this very simple word using the Ong book, the presence of the word, is let's not neglect the word. I'm not talking about capital W word, living word, Jesus Christ. Of course, we don't want to ever neglect that word, the living word, but there's a livingness in our very words, in our language as we speak them, that we want to be intentional about, we want to protect, and we protect that by using it, by taking time to stop, maybe and call someone, or send a little text and say, hey, let's get together. How about Friday? Can you meet for coffee for a half hour? Can you eke out 15 minutes? How about an hour? Oh my goodness, then how about the whole afternoon? Well, no, I'm not in college anymore. That takes a lot to get a whole afternoon, and those times are really fun. But really being intentional about making meaning with each other and making meaning out of what's happening comes from conversation, comes from interacting socially with others. I've got something in the queue coming up in my own life as the Lord would lead me. I'm sensing to open and to start a nonprofit, and it's all about that. It's all about conversation and social interaction because I don't want that to be a lost art. I don't want 100 years from now, the people that come after us to say, oh, remember when we studied history in the 21st century and the 20th century, they used to have long conversations. They used to talk about this. And then they started Googling about it. And then they started letting the robots Google it for them. No, I don't want that happening. I don't think you do either. So let's start by urging one another on to all good things. And one of the good things is conversation. Just do it. Even if it's awkward, just do it. You can have some fun. I'll see you again next time. Thanks so much for coming. It's always a pleasure to know that you're listening. Bye now.